Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me today because we have some very exciting General Hospital news to talk about, and it's definitely worth the wait. I cannot stop thinking about Brook and Chase after reading all of this, because to me, this is not just another little soap secret that can be cleaned up with a lie and a worried face the next morning. No, this feels heavier than that. It feels like the kind of secret that gets into a marriage like cold air under the door. At first, it is only a draft, only a chill, only something a woman tells herself she can live with. But then it spreads into every room. And that is exactly why I feel so uneasy about what Brooklyn is doing now. The real danger is not only what happened the night of the accident, the real danger is that she is now being pushed to build her marriage on silence. I really do understand why Tracy wants this buried. Lord have mercy, Tracy has lived long enough and seen enough to know how fast one scandal can turn into a family disaster. And from her point of view, Brooklyn had been drinking. She left the scene, and one wrong move could blow up everything at once. So yes, I can see Tracy looking at this mess and deciding that the smartest thing is to shut it down, lock it up, and pray nobody ever opens that door again. That is such a Tracy move. Tough, practical, ruthless when she thinks she is protecting family. But just because it makes sense to Tracy does not mean it is right for Brooklyn's heart, and it sure does not mean it is right for Brooklyn's marriage. What gets me most is that Brooklyn is being asked to keep this from Chase of all people. And that is where I start to feel that ache in my chest, because Chase is not just some man in her life. He is the man she built a future around. He is the one who believes in honor, truth, decency, and doing the right thing even when it hurts. So when a woman like Brooklyn hides something this serious from a man like Chase, I do not see a small misunderstanding coming. I see a crack forming right down the center of everything they thought they were building together. Maybe she tells herself she is protecting him. Maybe she tells herself she is protecting their future. But in my experience, when you hide a bomb inside a marriage, you are not protecting it. You are only deciding when it will explode. And what makes this even sadder is that Phoebe is tied to all of this. That poor baby has already become the emotional center of so much hope, so much healing, and so many dreams for Chase and Brooklyn. When I think about the possibility that this secret could cost them their standing as adoptive parents, my heart just sinks. Because then this is no longer only about betrayal between husband and wife. This becomes a wound to the life they were trying to build, the family they were trying to become, and the future they were finally brave enough to imagine. That kind of loss does not just make people cry for a day or two. That kind of loss changes how they look at each other in the morning. I keep coming back to Chase because I honestly think his pain could become the emotional center of this whole story. I can already imagine that awful moment when he learns that Brooklyn knew something this big and chose not to tell him. I do not think his first feeling will be rage. I think it will be heartbreak. That deep, stunned heartbreak that comes when a good man realizes the woman he trusted let him stand in the dark while she carried the truth alone. And once that heartbreak settles in, then the anger comes. Then the questions come. Then all the ugly thoughts start crawling in. If she lied about this, what else could she lie about? If she did not trust me with this, what am I even to her? That is the kind of spiral that can tear apart even a loving marriage. And I have to say it because this is where the story gets dangerous in the most human way. A hurt man does not always make noble choices. Sometimes he makes reckless ones. Sometimes he reaches for comfort in the wrong place and then tells himself he had a reason. I am not saying Chase deserves a free pass if he betrays Brooklyn. Not at all. Cheating is still cheating, and pain does not magically turn wrong into right. But I absolutely can see the writers taking him down that road where he feels humiliated, betrayed, and emotionally abandoned, and then he starts justifying behavior he would normally condemn. That is how people fall, not always because they stop caring, but because they are too hurt to think straight. What I find so interesting here is that Tracy may believe she is saving Brooklyn, but she may actually be helping destroy the very thing Brooklyn most wants to protect. That is the cruel part. The cover-up may not save her marriage, it may poison it. The silence may not protect her future with Chase. It may be the very thing that sends him walking away from it. And if that happens, Brooklyn will be left with the unbearable truth that the lie she kept to hold her life together was the same lie that pulled it apart. That is the kind of GH tragedy that really sticks with me because it feels so painfully real. I also think Brook Lynn herself is going to suffer more than Tracy realizes. She is not cold like Tracy. She is not built to hide something this explosive without it eating away at her. I can picture it already, the guilt, the panic, the fear, every time Chase looks at her with trust in his eyes. Some secrets do not just stay hidden in the background. They start showing up in the body, in the nerves, in the way a person flinches when the phone rings or goes quiet in the middle of the night. That is why I do not think Brook Lynn can keep this buried forever, even if she tries with all her might. Secrets like this have a way of leaking out through grief, guilt, and plain old human weakness. So when I look at where this story may be going, I do not just see a marriage in trouble. I see a test of character for everyone involved. I see Tracy choosing control over honesty. I see Brook Lynn trying to protect love by starving it of truth. I see Chase standing on the edge of a heartbreak that could change him. And I see Phoebe, sweet little Phoebe, at the center of consequences she did nothing to create. That is what makes this storyline hit so hard for me. It is not flashy. It is not just scandal for the sake of scandal. It is about love, fear, pride, family, and the terrible choices people make when they are desperate to keep from losing everything. And if you ask me, that is exactly why this story could become so powerful. Because I do not need explosions and screaming to feel the danger here. I feel it in the silence. I feel it in the secret. I feel it in the terrible moment that is surely coming when Chase finally learns the truth and realizes the woman he loves let him build a future on top of something broken. And honey, when that day comes, I do not think this marriage will walk away untouched. Not even close. I have to tell you, the moment I read that Chase might end up in Willow's arms, I just sat there for a second and shook my head because this is exactly how things fall apart in Port Charles. Not with one big explosion, but with a chain of emotional choices that feel justified in the moment and devastating afterward. And I can see it so clearly. I really can. When a man like Harrison Chase gets his heart broken the way this secret from Brook Lynn is about to break it, he is not going to think straight. He is going to feel like the ground under him is gone, like everything he trusted was built on something fragile. And in that moment, comfort starts to look more important than right or wrong. And Willow is not a random choice here. Not at all. This is someone who already has a history with Chase, someone who once saw him as her safe place, her hero, the man who stood by her when she needed stability the most. And I cannot ignore the fact that she has regrets. You can feel it even when she tries to move forward. There is always that quiet sense that she let something good slip through her fingers. So when you put a wounded Chase right in front of a woman who already knows his heart, already understands his pain, and already carries a piece of unfinished emotion, well, you do not need to be a genius to see where that could go. What really gets me is how everything connects back to Phoebe. That sweet child is at the center of so many decisions right now, and it breaks my heart a little, because none of this is her fault, but she could end up being the reason everything unravels. Chase worked so hard to build that future, to create something steady and loving. And Willow was right there helping him make that dream feel real, guiding him through the adoption process, supporting him when things felt uncertain. So when Brook Lynn's actions suddenly put that entire future at risk, I can absolutely understand why Chase would turn to the one person who was there with him through that journey. It is not just about attraction. It is about memory, trust, and shared hope. But let me be honest, because this is where my feelings get complicated. Just because I understand it does not mean I agree with it. Pain is powerful, yes. Betrayal cuts deep, absolutely. But using that pain as a reason to betray someone else, that is where things cross a line for me. If Chase ends up being unfaithful with Willow, I do not see it as justice. I see it as damage spreading, like cracks in glass that keep reaching further no matter how much you try to stop them. One betrayal does not heal another. It just multiplies the hurt. And yet, I cannot deny how real this feels. This is not some over-the-top twist that comes out of nowhere. This is human. This is what happens when trust is broken, when communication fails, when people choose silence over honesty and then find themselves drowning in the consequences. Brook Lynn thought she could protect her life with a lie. Chase may end up trying to survive that lie with another mistake. And somewhere in the middle, Willow could become both comfort and catastrophe at the same time. I also keep thinking about the moment when everything comes out, because you just know it will. Secrets in Port Charles never stay buried, and when this one surfaces, it is going to hit hard from every direction. Chase would be dealing not only with Brook Lynn's deception, but possibly his own guilt if he crosses that line with Willow. Brook Lynn will not only lose his trust, she may also lose the moral ground to fight for him if she finds out what he has done. And Willow, she could end up carrying the weight of stepping into a moment of weakness that changes everything for all of them. What makes this storyline so powerful to me is that nobody walks away clean. There is no easy villain here, no simple answer. There are only people making choices under pressure, trying to hold on to something they are afraid of losing, and sometimes doing the exact thing that guarantees that loss. That is what makes me keep watching, even when it frustrates me, because it feels so close to real life. Messy, emotional, complicated, and a little bit heartbreaking. So, yes, I believe Chase running to Willow is believable. I can see how it happens step by step, feeling by feeling. But I also believe that if he does, it will not fix anything. It will only push this already fragile situation closer to collapse. And when that collapse comes, it is not just going to shake a marriage. It is going to shake everything they thought they knew about love, trust, and the kind of people they believe themselves to be.